You just got the promotion. You just got the applause. You just got the acceptance letter. And somewhere underneath the celebration, a small cold voice says one thing. They made a mistake. This wasn't supposed to happen to you. Any minute now, someone is going to figure out the truth. But the real answer is far stranger than a simple lack of confidence. This feeling has a name. Psychologists call it the imposter phenomenon. And it does not target the unqualified. It targets the opposite. It targets the people who have earned everything they have. Think about that for a second. The doctor who graduated top of her class still checks her diagnosis 3 times, convinced she missed something obvious. The engineer who built the bridge still waits for the phone call that says it was all a fluke. Why does success feel like a countdown to exposure instead of proof of ability? To understand this, you have to go back to 1978. 2 psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, were working with high-achieving women at a university. These were women with advanced degrees, published research, real accomplishments, and almost every single one privately believed she did not deserve to be there. Clance and Imes called it the imposter phenomenon. Not a disorder, not a diagnosis, a pattern of thinking that shows up specifically in people who are capable. Here is the twist your brain does not want you to notice. Imposter feelings do not shrink as your skill grows. They often grow with it. Picture a new employee on day 1. They know almost nothing about the job, so they have no real basis to feel like a fraud. There is nothing yet to compare themselves against. Now, picture that same person 5 years later. They know the field deeply now. They also know, in painful detail, everything they still do not know. They see every gap, every expert they admire, every question they cannot instantly answer. Competence gives you a map of the terrain, and a bigger map just means you can see more territory you have not covered. This connects to something researchers David Dunning and Justin Kruger uncovered in the late 1990s, often called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Their research showed that people with very little skill in an area often overestimate their own ability. They do not know enough to know what they are missing. But flip that finding around and something quieter emerges. People with real skill tend to underestimate themselves. Why? Because expertise makes the hard parts visible. A beginner cannot see the 10 ways a project could go wrong. An expert can see all 10 and privately worries about the 11th. So the imposter feeling is not a malfunction. It is almost a side effect of paying close attention. But there is more happening here than just perception. There is chemistry. When you sit in a meeting and feel that flush of dread, that tightening in your chest before you speak, that is not just a thought. That is your body running an ancient threat response. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky has spent decades studying stress hormones like cortisol, and one of his central findings is simple and unsettling. Your body cannot always tell the difference between a lion at the door and a room full of people judging your competence. Social threat and physical threat travel through some of the same alarm circuitry. Your heart does not know that a performance review is not a predator. It just knows something feels dangerous, and it prepares you to run or freeze. This is why imposter feelings do not stay in your head. They show up in your body. The sweaty palms before presentation. The blank mind right when you're asked a question you know the answer to. That is not weakness. That is your nervous system treating visibility as danger, because for most of human history, standing out from the group could genuinely get you hurt. Being seen, being watched, being judged by the tribe, used to carry real stakes. Your brain has not fully updated its software for boardrooms and job interviews. Now here is where it gets even stranger. Imposter feelings are not evenly distributed. They cluster around certain moments, around transitions, starting a new job, getting promoted, publishing something, being the first in your family to do something. Anytime the identity you're stepping into is bigger than the identity you're used to, the gap between old self and new self creates friction. Your brain has years of evidence for who you used to be. It has almost no evidence yet for who you are becoming. So it defaults to the older, more familiar story. You're not that. You're still the beginner, even when the calendar and the job title say otherwise. Think about a child learning to ride a bike without training wheels for the first time. For weeks they have been the kid who needs support. Then one day they are pedaling alone, wobbling, upright, actually doing it. And what do so many kids do in that exact moment? They panic. They look down. They ask, wait, am I really doing this? And the second they stop trusting the new skill and go looking for proof of the old limitation, they wobble and fall. Not because they lost the ability, because they stopped believing the ability was real. Adults do the exact same thing, just with better vocabulary. You get the new role, the new degree, the new recognition, and part of you keeps glancing down at the training wheels that are not there anymore, half expecting to fall. There is something else researchers have found, and it might be the most counterintuitive part of all. Imposter feelings are often highest among people who care the most about doing good work. Perfectionists feel it intensely because their internal bar keeps rising faster than their actual output can satisfy it. People with strong empathy feel it intensely because they're constantly scanning for how others perceive them. In other words, this feeling is not a sign that you are unqualified. In a strange, backward way, it is often a sign that you take the work seriously enough to fear getting it wrong. That does not mean the feeling is comfortable. It does not mean you should chase it or wear it as a badge of honor. But it does mean the story your brain is telling you, the one where you're secretly unqualified and everyone else is secretly certain, is almost never accurate. Everyone else is running the same alarm system. They're just as unsure. They're simply better at hiding it or better at ignoring it long enough to keep going. So it actually helps. Not forcing false confidence. Not pretending the doubt disappears. What helps is recognizing the doubt for what it actually is. A leftover alarm system reacting to visibility, not evidence of failure. It helps to write down, in plain language, what you have actually done, not how you feel about it. What actually happened? The project that shipped. The exam that passed. The problem you solved at 2 in the morning when nobody was watching and there was no audience to perform for. That list is not your feelings. That list is your record. And your record does not lie the way your alarm system does. It also helps to notice the pattern instead of just feeling it. The next time that voice shows up right after you accomplish something, pause and ask what is actually happening in your body. Is this a fact? Or is this a feeling dressed up as a fact? Faster heartbeat is not proof you are a fraud. It is proof your nervous system noticed you are visible. Think back to that child on the bike again. The moment they stop looking down for the training wheels and just look ahead at the road, the wobble smooths out. Not because the fear vanished completely, because attention moved from the fear back to the task. That shift, small and repeatable, is available to you too every single time that cold voice shows up right after a win. You just got the promotion. You just got the applause. You just got the acceptance letter. And somewhere underneath the celebration, a small cold voice still says one thing. But now you know what that voice actually is. Not proof. Not truth. Just an old alarm